everybody, this is your girl Courtney Elise and welcome to my channel where we help young girls and young mothers change their lives and build their businesses using my own personal experiences and expertise. Today we are going to go over how I messed up this last time with my business. In the last video I told you all about how I've been going through this crazy rough patch since Mother's Day. How things have just been on a decline for a while and they're finally starting to be on an incline. I haven't been super in the dumps just because I know that God is good and Jesus is still graceful and mercy is wonderful. So I haven't allowed myself to get super anxious and depressed about it, but I have actually gotten pretty anxious and pretty, not necessarily depressed, but I've gotten pretty down in the dumps. But then every time I want to get down in the dumps, I know, God has brought me out of many things worse than this plenty of times before, and it's only been a few months. Anyway, I wanted to go over all of the mistakes that I know that I made that led up to this moment so that you all can learn from my mistakes in your businesses and maybe even in your life. So let's go on and get on into it. Very first thing that I learned is that you cannot do it alone. I've tried with having assistants in the past, and because of Corona, for various different reasons, they quit. And after that, I was like, you know what, it's all right, I can just do it by myself. But that is actually not the truth. You need a team. You need people to delegate your tasks to, even if those people are virtual people. You need help. The second thing that I did not do is I did not have a network. Yes, I have a wonderful network of friends. I have beautiful friends who have been there for me, who I've been there for. I have wonderful relationships with them. I'm very close to them. We cater to each other. However, I do not have entrepreneurial friends, like super close friends who are out there hustling and bustling, who I can bounce ideas off of, who I can encourage, who can encourage me, who can give me advice, who can send me customers, who I can send customers. I don't have that network, and there is no good reason as to why I don't have that network. I work in multiple cities, and quite frankly, I should know people in all of those cities who are in my profession, in my industry, who work in professions parallel to my industry, even if they're not entrepreneurs, but if they work in a business that is either in my industry or parallel or complementary to my industry, I should be networking with these people, finding out who these people are, going out to eat with these people, sitting and talking with them. And it's not because you're wanting to use people, it's because that network is important. When things hit the fan, you need people to be able to vent to who understand your pain. You need to also be able to be there for them. Y'all need to be able to send each other clients and to be able to use the network that each other has, to be able to share advice and business tips and invite each other to meetings where you introduce to higher level people who have been there, maybe retired or been there and still there, or people who are new to the game. You need to know the people in and around your industry, people who also share similar ideals and things to you, and even people who share different ideals. You need to know the people in your industry, and you can't burn bridges with those people. Whatever you need to do to be able to network, to be able to expand your network, you really need to do those things. Because when all of this happened, I didn't have other photographers. I only know 2 other photographers that I'm fairly kind of close to enough to maybe bounce maybe an idea off of, but really they're more of acquaintances, and the relationship hasn't completely been built with those. You have to build relationships with people. You have to keep in contact with people, and you have to set a good tone in people's mouths for you so that when crap hits the fan, you have a network. Nobody who is a good person is going to leave you standing on your toes by yourself. So that's the second mistake that I made. The third mistake that I made is I did not have good enough systems. I do have systems. However, I did not have good enough systems. There is no reason why when I got into my car accident and I wasn't able to go around that I shouldn't have been able to have other people do different tasks that I needed to get done. All right, while I was trying to figure out my own personal life, there is no reason why I didn't have electronic systems that could automatically do things where I wouldn't have to be sending all the quotes. I wouldn't have to be responding to everything myself immediately. I wouldn't have to be personally restructuring contracts for different clients. I was doing all of this stuff by myself, and it made absolutely no sense. I should have had systems in place. There are way too many things in place for us to not have those kind of systems that can help us out and make our lives so much easier, especially being a mom, especially being an entrepreneur, especially staying home with my children to make sure that they have everything that they need. You can't do it all. They say you're either going to sacrifice time or money. You might as well sacrifice money, because guess what? If you run out of time, you're going to end up having to sacrifice money either way. You're either going to sacrifice it by having to give it to people to help you finally, or you're going to have to sacrifice it by sacrificing business that could be coming in, that you could be thriving off of, even while you have personal situations going on. The next lesson that I learned, a lot of times when you discount your services or discount your products so much for people, they start taking advantage. They want a lot and they still want to pay this much, but they want more. And they believe that because you might be new or whatever your reason is for offering cheap prices, they view you as inexperienced, so they think that they can get over. They view you as new, so they think that you need them anyway. Charge what you are worth and make sure you stand steady in whatever your rules are for yourself, for your business. Because if you don't, people will run all over. And unfortunately, during this time, normally I can handle it, but it's really hard to deal with those kind of clients when you have a lot going on in your own personal life and even in your business life. It's really hard to deal with those kind of clients. If you're marketing to these people, whether it's to build your portfolio or just because you don't know better yet or whatever the reason may be, and unfortunately they're tearing up your business while you're trying to get things together, it will leave absolutely no space for creativity for you. Speaking of targets, you need to know your brand and you need to know your niche. That is the next mistake that I made. I didn't know my brand and I didn't know my niche. So those are things that I am heavily having to focus on now, but that leads me into my very next tip. Sorry, I didn't spend a whole bunch of time on that one, but you'll see why for this next tip. If you don't know your niche and you don't know your brand, you need to experiment. You need to try different things, but you can only do that if you're actively putting out fresh work all the time. And you can't do that if you're sitting at home being lazy, if you're always taking breaks, if you're always just doing your own things, always doing whatever your friends want you to do, always handling all this busy work that you have. You need to experiment with your brand as much as possible so that you can actually figure out what your niche is, so you can start making better money, so you can get rid of those clients who aren't going to treat you well. The next thing you need to do is you cannot make big decisions when you're overwhelmed. You'll end up messing up your credit, you'll end up messing up your finances, you'll end up messing up the layout of your business, you'll mess up your customer service during that time, you'll mess up some stuff with your family. Everybody will see that you're stressed because you're just not making smart decisions. Sometimes you literally just have to take a day, step back, relax, and just clear your mind for a while. If that means that you need to give your kids to your guy or to their dads or to your friend or a drop-in childcare center or whatever it might be for a moment, then do that. If that means that you need to put both of your children down for a nap for 2 hours so you can go take a super long bath that ends up going cold while you're taking it, go on and do that. You need to have time to breathe and not be overwhelmed. Only make the decisions once you have calmed down, and talk to other people about it. If it seems like you're not feeling any less overwhelmed, talk to other people who are not overwhelmed and who are in your niche or in your business type, or who have some type of experience with this, or who just might be a calmer mind and a wiser mind, and maybe they can help you to kind of come up with different possibilities for the decision that you're trying to make at the time. But you cannot make those decisions by yourself when you're overwhelmed. It's just quite unreasonable and not the smartest thing to do. The next thing that I did completely wrong, you guys, is I did marketing in such a lazy way. I kind of experimented with Facebook marketing. I kind of experimented with Instagram marketing. And I had my business on other paid sites where I would be paying per lead. And you all, that cost me so much money during the time span of my business. I was able to keep it up until things started falling apart and I started making decisions and monetary decisions while I was trying to do all this. And then my customer service was just kind of slacking a little bit because I was overwhelmed in my mind. It just didn't do so well, when in actuality I probably should have had an actual marketing service or a marketing team, or maybe someone who was over marketing, or a marketing app, something else that could handle it for me that I put my money into rather than putting my money into these leads that didn't turn into clients and wasting, over $1,000 something dollars, or however much I wasted. I know I wasted a lot of money when there are plenty of better ways to market where you could be generating leads in a much, much better and capable way. That leads me to the next mistake that I made. I was not using enough apps to help run my business. Now this kind of falls into a few of the tips that I was talking about. Marketing, systems, you can't do it alone. It falls into all of those things. But ultimately, there are so many apps out there that can really help you to automate your business. And unless you use those things to your benefit, you're really just failing yourself and just allowing all of these good services to be there for absolutely no reason, when it could be making your life so much easier. And you're not going to pick the right one all the time the first time, but try one thing at a time. Don't buy a bunch of apps at one time and try to figure them all out. Bring one app into your life at one time, tweak it, figure it out, understand the dynamics of it and things like that, and then go on and bring in another. You'll just honestly make your life so much easier and so much less stressful if you just go on and use the services that are already out there. The last thing that I did wrong is I did not have enough days set aside only for creativity and peaceful things. You need to take time off. You cannot work 8 days a week, 9 days a week. You wanna know why? Because there are only 7, and you probably need to really be working about 6 of those, maybe 5, but as an entrepreneur, it's really hard to only work 5 days. But you at least need 1 or 2 days per week to where you can just focus on having a clear brain, a day off, and relaxing. You need an actual day off in a way from everything so that you can actually focus on creativity. You can even count this as a work day because you're focusing on peacefulness and creativity so you can pour back into your business. Those were the 10 things that I got wrong during this time, the 10 mistakes that I am glad that I made because I have dramatically learned from them and they have been slowly pushing me forward. And so I've been able to use this gap in time, this fairly purposeful gap at this point in time, to be able to really work on my business, to work on my craft, to make my business the type of business that I desire, and to push things forward for myself and my business. As a mom, as an entrepreneur, this time has been absolutely needed as far as pushing myself and my business forward. Whenever you have failures in life, failures in business, failures in motherhood, failures in anything, use that time to prepare you for whatever's next in your business and life, whatever it might be. Use that time to grow you and to prepare you for the next thing. Well, let me know in the comments below if this helped you at all. Make sure that you please leave a comment, like, and subscribe so YouTube will share this with other people who can use my experiences to better help their life and their businesses. Thank you, and have a wonderful, solid rest of your week. I will talk to y'all in the next video. Ciao.